And welcome everybody to another glorious episode of the Put on Raiders podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Ryan Holmes, and we are podcasting off of the foggy shores of the Pacific Ocean. I don't know if you got the fog where you live, but the fog has been everywhere down here in Southern California, down in San Diego. Every morning it's like crazy. Like almost looks like you're living in San Francisco right now with all that fog. Hey Ryan, how you doing today?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I was down in Costa Mesa yesterday trying to play golf, and you couldn't see like white balls in the fog. I had to wait for it to burn off till about 11:30.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. Our TPOW podcast is my Twitter handle, and then you have RHOLM22 is Ryan's 8582995592 is the text line. And we do have some questions off the text line. A couple Raider questions, one Niner questions. Try to come get at me because they think I hate their head coach. I don't hate your head coach. I just want you guys to win more. As far as that goes, Des Moines, Iowa, Miami, Florida, Bronx, New York, and Los Angeles, California are all listening to the Put on Raiders podcast. And we're going to do a little Put on NFL and Put on Raiders podcast really quickly here. Kind of like, I was joking with somebody, and because I said, because we're not only are Ryan and I Raider fans, we're also USC Trojan fans. And this was like the last time I felt this happy or this giddy about an acquisition was when Shaq came to the Lakers. I mean that's the kind of like impact I feel like this guy can have on this program. Perfect, 38 years old, play caller, has NFL pedigree as far as getting quarterbacks into the league. What are your thoughts about Lincoln Riley going to USC from Oklahoma? I think that one of the best things that I love is just seeing that the homegrown, Mater D, like all these big time players who are from Southern California have a chance to really stay home and be part of a special program.
Definitely. The recruiting here is the big thing. And USC, after Pete Carroll left, they had the sanctions. Clay Helton took over after, I believe, Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian, and they lost the homegrown guys. They couldn't keep them home. The SEC came in, and we look around college football. Bryce Young should be at USC. DJ Ungale should be at USC. It's funny. I hear that he's going to end up at Oklahoma, actually, from Clemson. I heard he's going to get in the transfer portal. CJ Stroud should be at USC. These are all Southern California high school kids. And those are just the quarterbacks. We can go up and down these rosters, but these teams from the SEC, the ACC, the Big 12, they've been able to come into Southern Cal and recruit these kids because USC lost it there for a while under Clay Helton. No one wanted to play for him. Clay Helton was too busy recruiting 3 stars and didn't want to go after the 5 stars. He wanted to keep it clean after all the sanctions they went through. And now it's almost like the sun's come out. USC can get back to being who they were in the Pete Carroll era and keeping these kids here. And you're already seeing it with some of these 5-star recruits decommitting from Oklahoma. Now they're going to USC. And the biggest thing for me is, Lincoln Riley, you see him out recruiting these kids already. We're 2 or 3 days into this. He was in Las Vegas last night at Bishop Gorman going after a pair of guys. Clay Helton, I don't know if he ever even recruited. He was content getting the 3 stars and trying to, keep a clean program. But at the end of the day, USC needs to be a dominant factor in college football. And I'm glad to see that they've put their resources and they've put their money where their mouth is, and they've gone out and they've hired a coach. Now, you can argue, if he's a top 5 or 10 college coach, we can have that debate. But at the end of the day, what they needed was a guy who could recruit Southern California, and they had a home run with Lincoln Riley in that regard.
Yeah, and I think you just literally know by all the reactions from the Notre Dame fans, from the Oklahoma fans, how salty everybody is. It was the right move for USC as far as that goes. And like I said, people, if you recruit 3-star players, you get 3-star results, right? You don't get the big time results that a team like USC kind of needs. And the West Coast is supposed to be, USC, right? The big squad out here. So hopefully that continues. And some of these, the big quarterback is coming out here now in 2023. So, people are coming through that portal and coming out in Cardinal and gold. So hopefully that continues. because I can't stop smiling about it.
No, definitely. It's, I'm hearing, Keaton Slovis, I'm hearing is going to the NFL, even though he won't be a top draft pick. He wants out. There could be a new quarterback coming in. I don't know if it's going to be Jackson Dart next year, but they're going to attack the transfer portal. I fully expect Lincoln Riley's do everything he can. And the Pac-12 sitting right there for the taking. There is no dominant team outside of Oregon. I guess you want to count them. Like, they can come in and win right away.
Yeah.
And it's time. It's almost like a country club atmosphere over there. It's time for those guys to go. There's a new sheriff in town, and Lincoln Riley needs to weed out the guys that don't want to be there and bring in the guys he wants. And there's no reason, looking at that schedule, why that you can't see them, 11-1 or 10-2 next year, battling for the college football playoff if they get the right players in.
No question about it. The playoff picture in the National Football League, NFC. What are your thoughts about? What are your thoughts about that so far? Looks like Green Bay can be like last year and force everybody to come to Green Bay. They have to finish the job this time. What are your thoughts about the playoff picture in the NFC?
Yeah, the NFC playoff picture to me is kind of crazy. I saw a stat today. I don't know if this is right, but it said Detroit is still mathematically alive. I think that's all I need to know about the NFC.
Did you see
the Lions have not been eliminated?
Did you see all the crazy things that have to happen to make it?
Yeah.
Like some poor production assistant or whoever had to go through all these scenarios. But yeah, somebody went through all those scenarios. But it would take a man and miracle, and then them after winning out as well, which is hilarious. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. They're not eliminated yet, and they haven't won a game.
Yeah, I think I'm looking at it now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 6 teams with a 500 or better record. So there's going to be a team that might sneak into the playoffs here with 8 wins in the NFC, which is unfathomable if you think about it, with 17 games. But to me, there's no intrigue. It's pretty much set. You know who the top 5 or 6 teams are going to be, who's going to be that last wild card. Do the 49ers hold on to the 6th spot or the 7th spot? Does Minnesota find their way in? Does Washington or Philadelphia pick up that last spot? But we basically know who the 4 or 5 teams are. The teams are going to win the division, who's going to have home games. So the NFC to me is just not exciting right now. It's a bunch of bad teams and a couple of good teams. Now the NFC might have the Super Bowl winner. They may have, better teams at the top, but there's no depth. It thins out really quickly.
Yeah, no question. In the AFC here, I know people are like, kind of ragging on Lamar Jackson and Baltimore, but if they win ugly, nobody's going to remember these ugly wins when you have to go to Baltimore, in January, right? So as long as they continue to keep doing what they're doing, I think they'll be fine. They got to get the passing game going a little bit better. With Lamar Jackson, I mean, they have to maybe expand a little bit more outside of Mark Andrews, who's a great tight end, but they gotta get plays on the field. New England is like like it was not even 10 years ago, right? They're just doing the same things. Number 1 ranked defense in the National Football League, and they go at Baltimore. Snow was in the forecast. I'm sorry, they go at Buffalo. Snow was in the forecast, so that's East Coast media's dream right there. You get snow. You get all that stuff like that. It should be fun. It should be a fun atmosphere here. You got some really good offensive and defensive minds going at each other. McDermott, you got Dayball, all the people like Sean McDermott. You got Belichick, and McDaniels doing his thing there. And I think one thing that I want to kind of say with this is, are at 5-5-1. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers dead now? They play at Baltimore this week. Baltimore would love to just destroy them and kind of end any kind of run here. But it seems like in the NFC, in the AFC, it's going to take at least 10 wins. And 10 might not be enough, but 10 wins at the very least to get to the playoffs.
Pittsburgh's down if you look at their schedule and just the way they're playing. I mean, that offense can't move the ball. But looking at it, Baltimore, however they win at this point, no one's going to complain if they end up with the number 1 seed and they have a bye. They need to get healthy first and foremost. They need to get their wide receivers back. They need to get some of these defensive players back. They can, the guys that aren't on season-ending IR. But there's a lot of depth. There's no dominant team at the top, but there's 10, 11 teams fighting for those 7 spots. And the races are getting tight in every one of these divisions. No one has run away with any of these divisions. And, the Patriots were able to put it together there. I really want to see what happens when teams can slow down the run and see if Mac Jones can do it. Can he win a game against a good team when they don't have the running game going? Because I've watched a lot of Patriots games this year, and it's a lot of, run, screen, run, out route. Like, he's not being asked to do a ton, but he doesn't have to because of the way the defense is playing.
Mhm.
And, they've been able to move the ball. They do have one of the highest scoring per drives in the league, but they kick a ton of field goals. They're not very good in the red zone. So
Mhm.
what's going to happen if they fall behind by 2 touchdowns against a good team in the playoffs on the road? I don't know if he's going to. So I don't trust New England in the long run to say, yeah, this is a Super Bowl team with a
Mhm.
rookie quarterback. It just hasn't happened since Big Ben was a rookie that took a team there. It's Buffalo. It's time to put up or shut up. We heard about the Bills. The Bills Mafia. They thought they were back. They thought they had this Division 1 a month ago, and now you look up and they're fighting. If they lose this game,
Yeah.
they're in trouble
Yeah,
if they lose this game. So they have the home game. They played. I want to say the Patriots 2 of the next 3 weeks or 2 of the next 4 weeks. They have them here 2 times here pretty quickly. They need to win those games and put some separation between them. New England does still, I think, have Miami and a couple layups here on the schedule going down the stretch.
and they're 6-1 in the AFC as well.
Yeah, so they're going to have a lot of tiebreakers.
Yeah.
Baltimore's 5-4. I'm sorry, Buffalo's 5-4. Buffalo needs to win the division because they're not going to have a lot of tiebreakers here with other teams when it comes down to it. I still think Cincinnati can give Baltimore a run there in the North. To me, the intrigue is going to come down to who are the 6th and the 7th wild cards because there's a ton of teams still alive. What's going to happen in the AFC West? Like, there's 3 teams that are 6-5. Kansas City 7-4. Kansas City stubs their toe, and Denver's defense is playing really well right now. I'm going to pick the AFC West games later, but I do think that they're going to make a game of that, and we're going to see. Clearly, I still think Kansas City's a playoff team because I don't think they're going to lose like 3 or 4 games down the stretch. And can the Colts catch the Titans? They might be able to if Tennessee can't get across the end zone and score touchdowns. If Julio Jones and AJ Brown are going to miss significant amount of time in December, that offense isn't very good without those guys. So, and these teams are all going to play each other divisional games here in the month of December. So this thing's going to, one week you're going to think a team's dead. They're going to win 2 division games. And next thing you know, they're going to be alive. So this thing's going to flip over and then flip over again in the next 3 or 4 weeks.
And the Colts are sitting right there as well. We'll see what the Raiders do. I got some interesting stats I found out about Herbert this week, which is pretty interesting about Justin Herbert as far as that goes. Let's see here. And so the report that before we get to questions, the report that Jason Lockenfor had where he talked about Mark Davis, and he hasn't started kind of kicking the tires on a head coach yet. He's just all in on trying to make the playoffs. I don't know where. I do think that Marcel Reese, who was his right-hand man right now, has a big kind of like, not say, but like kind of like he's in his ear a lot. I mean, they're like, I never really see them not together as far as in a game here. Maybe that might lead to an executive position for Marcel Reese in the future. Hopefully it's not next year, but as far as that goes, because they need to go outside of the Raider family for that. But do you feel like there's still time if they do make the playoffs? I still think a move has to be made. I don't think you can come back with Bisaccia, because I just don't. His mindset of I kind of feel like they're gonna try to run the ball like crazy on Sunday when they clearly should try to pass the ball this week. I'm not in love with kind of things I hear from him as far as press conferences and also his game management has been really poor. And honestly, these long field goals, that's great, it's wonderful. You gotta try to get 7, 4th and 2 with this offense. Should be able to get some more points on the board.
Definitely. I'm of the opinion that they do need to move on. I don't care if they make the playoffs. I don't want Rich Bisaccia back as the head coach. Now, if the head coach wants to keep him as a special teams coordinator,
you could have him.
That's great. If Kellen Moore comes over and they work together in Dallas and he wants to keep him, I'm all aboard on that. But it's 2021. Next year will be 2022. They need to be aggressive. They need a guy that's analytically driven, that's going to take chances on 4th down, that's not going to punt the ball, that's not going to kick field goals inside the 5 on 4th and 2. Because at the end of the day, they need to score a ton of points, and they haven't fixed the issues. The third down offense has gotten worse. The red zone offense is still putrid. So there are things going on here, but we keep having conversations about the punter on his Monday press conferences, and he's a good punter. AJ Cole's a good punter, but it's not about that for me. And just sneaking into the playoffs at 10-7, and maybe winning, or even if they win a first round game, I still think they need to make a decision. It's about the future. It's about getting this team over the hump, being respectable. And to me, it bothers me that they haven't started the search of what Jason La Canfora is saying, because they need to fix this organization after what happened with Del Rio announcing his own firing, the chasing of John Gruden, who again, admittedly, I was on board that, but everything that's gone wrong, he's lost presidents. They've had the issues on the business side. They need to wipe this thing clean. I actually don't think Mayock is going to come back. If they make the playoffs, he might, but I would definitely, you got to start looking forward, and the Raiders have an opportunity to get legwork done. They can interview guys right now that weren't that aren't current coaches. So guys that aren't in the league, just start familiarizing yourselves with this. The worst thing that could happen is this comes down to the last week. They don't make the playoffs, and then they got to start the search day one. Other teams are already getting legwork done that know they're going to move on from their coaches. The Raiders they're going to probably need a general manager, in my opinion. I know there's been a lot of pushback on social media. Raider fans want to keep Mayock, and they all believe that he's God's gift to drafting because those were Gruden's picks. But to me, he was in the room. He was in the process. They've missed on just as many as they've hit. It's not an exact science, but I just don't think a guy – now, if they want to make him an assistant GM or make him, a pro personnel director, that's one thing. But this guy has no front office experience other than saying yes or no to John Gruden. That's not how you run an organization. So to me, I think they should start doing due diligence on both potential head coaches and a GM. And if they make the playoffs and they win and they look good and you want to keep them, that's great. But all the issues this team has had prior to Rich Bisaccia are still here. He hasn't fixed any of them.
Yeah. And I just still can't get over. It would be hard for me to keep Mike Mayock when I could just look at that 2020 draft class. I mean, when you lose an entire draft class, it's just impossible for me to kind of overlook that. And then they said they wanted guys who were, pillars
football
of
character.
Society and football and all this stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like you end up drafting a lot of guys who didn't pass that test at all. At all. And then you kind of made that claim. So I didn't like that at all as far as that goes. So there's been there's always a controversy with Derek Carr. So now the controversy is yards. Listen, I don't have a problem. They should throw the goddamn ball. So I want them to be aggressive.
They can't run it.
They can't run it, and they should, if they're gonna run it, they should pass to run, not run the pass. You can do, again, like we always talk about on the show, you actually can play action without running the ball well. Teams do it all the time. But so this whole thing about debate about whether or not it's yards, all this little things like that. I mean, people getting mad about the people posting how many him leading the league in yards. And not leading, and then fans coming back with wins. I mean, at the end of the day, like I want Derek to be successful. I don't want to go through this again. I don't want to go through a whole situation. But he has all the even with the injuries, he has the weapons, he has the tools. There shouldn't be this big disparity where he scores, he throws for 300 yards, they score 30. He doesn't throw for 300 yards. They score 11 points. They average 11 points in the game in the 5 losses that Derek doesn't get out to fast starts, that doesn't get 300 yards. That's inexcusable. That should not happen at all. You should at least, I mean, if they don't win, if they don't make the playoffs, and I have to look at, Daniel Jones is the reason why. Look at, Justin Fields they weren't even attempting to throw the football in that game. And they scored 9 points. 9 points. Was it even 9 points against the Bears? Or was it 20-9? So
20-9, yeah.
29. So you can't. That's just disgusting to look at that part of it. But the yards are great. stats are great. I just need him to, if the yards meant more red zone scoring, then I'd be happy with it, but it's not leading to that. So that's one of the biggest things I look at. I'm not sure what the controversy is. I mean, that's great that he has yards, but we need points, and they need to make the playoffs.
Yeah, leading the league in yards to me, it's a great thing to have personally, but it's not leading to more wins. And he's also played 3 more quarters because of the 3 overtime games than a lot of these guys. So it's almost like he has an extra game on him.
Yeah.
Give him credit for it. Someone has to lead the league in passing. But at the end of the day, there's been multiple guys that have done this in the last 10, 12 years that haven't made the playoffs, that have led the league in passing yards. It's almost like in the NBA when you find that guy that scores 25 points a game, but his team can't win. Stephon Marbury comes to mind. Like, great player, fun to watch. You know what he never did? He never won anything. Those kind of guys. I'm not saying Derek falls in that category, but I look at let's look at different rate stats, different metrics than yards. We don't judge quarterbacks by yards. If we did, Matt Stafford would be going to the Hall of Fame tomorrow. That's not what we do. So
always down in a game, so he's chucking the ball over the field.
They can't run the ball, but like I said, give him credit. Like, he is doing it. He is taking advantage of the shots. He's hit the plays down the field for the most part. But we shouldn't just say, "Oh, this guy's the best quarterback in the league" because he's leading in yards. We can go look at the Jameis Winston threw for 5,000 yards 2 years ago. He turned the ball over a ton. Not saying Derek did that, but that shouldn't be the stat we're judging quarterbacks on at all.
Yeah, no question about it. And also, I just want to listen, I'm not a Brandon Parker fan. I wasn't part of that fan club. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't like, oh, what was it, North Carolina A&T? I wasn't like, I wasn't at the draft going, yes, I'm so happy we drafted Brandon Parker. But to kind of like keep poo-pooing him as if he was, as if he's not playing his behind off, that he's not like performing to a certain level in pass protection. Like, he's been pretty good. Like, he's not Anthony Munoz. He's not one of those type level players, but for the situation he was thrust into, where he's not just coming in on maybe like a third down run play, or he's not just spelling somebody for a twisted ankle. He's coming in. He came in and has to play big minutes, big plays, big large percentage of snaps for the Las Vegas Raiders. I think he's the guy who's been he's not going to be on Colton Miller's level, but he's been pretty good. And I think every time people get a chance to kind of knock him, I think they just need to like kind of look at what he's doing for this team. He's kind of saving their right tackle situation. It's to the point where they cut DJ Fluker.
Yeah, we've texted about this. He's a marginal fringe type player in this league. He is a backup. He is a third, fourth tackle. He's allowed 1 sack this year, according to PFF. Now, his PFF grade sucks. It's 47. But if I told you Brandon Parker was going to play 480 snaps for the Raiders and give up 1 sack, you'd probably be okay with it. Now, he's given up a ton of pressures. He has 8 penalties. But he's doing about what you'd expect him to do. It's not like he's coming in and he's giving up 2 or 3 sacks a week. He's had flashes in the run game, and then he has games where he's inconsistent, but that's just who he is at this point. I don't expect him back on this team when his contract is up. I believe after this year he's a free agent, but for what they're getting out of him right now, for the length of time he's had to play due to various issues, you couldn't have asked for much more than what you're getting out of him. It's like you said, you can't compare this guy to Lincoln Kennedy, if you want to go back, Mo Collins, some Raiders right tackles. You mentioned, like, he's not a Hall of Famer like Anthony Munoz. For what he is and what he's given them, they have to be happy with what they've gotten out of him.
No question about it. I don't think there's any question about that. Before we go to the Washington football team, let's take good spot. Take a break. We'll be right back. And then we'll come back with some questions. Then we'll go preview the Washington football team on a Put on Raiders podcast. Back on the Put on Raiders podcast, Dwayne Douglas here along with Ryan Holmes. Got some questions here. Derek has a lot of from the 718. Derek has a lot of favorable stats. Do you feel like criticism of him is unwarranted in the 2021 season? Um, I feel like, to be fair, is to say this. When I look at like the Lamar Jackson game that he just had, and he's at a couple of these right now where he has played pretty bad poorly, but kind of found that one or two plays to win the game, right? I think that the feast and famine part of Derek this year has been kind of like the issue that I kind of have with him. Like the 0-5, like, can you be 2-3 in those games? Like, you know what I mean? Like, could you not be 0-5 in those games? Like, if it basically, if it doesn't happen early, it doesn't happen pretty for you in the first quarter, you don't get a bomb to Desean Jackson like it did against the Cowboys, that it's going to be a long day. I kind of need that to be like, if you win some of these ugly games, like even his record when the Raiders, I think Josh Dubois, the one stat he puts out that I really think was a good one was Derek's record when the Raiders give up 20 points or less. Like though that should be a dominant record for a quarterback. You should have like maybe one loss in that. And I think like that's one of the biggest things I want. It seems like when Kurt Warner loves him and he says when he's aggressive, I mean he's like my my BFF. Like, just go out there and when you are aggressive, throwing down the field, like Ryan says, like and like the saying around the league is, when you see single high, let it fly. If you're going to keep doing those things, then yeah, go ahead. That's the Derek we want to see, because they need to like get that's the identity of the football team. Like stop with the, kick Tom Cable out of the offensive meeting room and stop listening to him making you think that you're gonna be some power running football team right now. You run just out of like to keep the team offensive, to give the team offensive balance. This is not like a smash mouth football team right now. The way they are set up right now, they're better in pass pro. Let them throw the ball down the field and be aggressive and score points, because that's the only way they're going to win these games.
Yeah, so it's interesting. A lot of it is based on how teams are playing him. That there are teams that are getting aggressive. Like I have no idea why Dallas went man to man single high a lot in that game. When he has to face too high coverage, cover four, they're taking away the deep stuff. Can he win those games? Can he get that intermediate game going and not just go straight to the flats and the underneath passes, especially on third down? Because this team has tried to run the ball to get into favorable third down. I'm more concerned about the third down offense. They're I think at like 35 or 36%. Like in year 8, like that's just unacceptable. You got to be closer to 40, 45%. I know they can't run the ball. They're aggressive when they go play action on first down and take their shots. And they can do that when teams play single high. Where they've struggled is when teams have gone too high, or they play man match coverage and they try to disguise some stuff. And then to me, I think he's played okay this year. The argument that you get into is when people start wanting to say, "Oh, he's an MVP, he's a top 3, he's a top 5 quarterback in the league." He's just not that. He's somewhere in 10 to 15 based on his weeks, and a lot of it has to do with the ups and downs. And he's been that way his whole career. He'll look like a top 5 guy for 4 weeks, and we've talked about it. And then he'll look like a middle of the pack, 15 to 20th guy for 2 or 3 weeks at a time. And he hit that stretch this year. He did that. He did not keep going at the pace he was going early on. And for me, I want to see what Washington's going to do this week. How are they going to play him? Jack Del Rio's the defensive coordinator. He probably has a good idea. I don't think they're going to come after him. I would be shocked if they blitzed a ton this week. But having said that, they don't have any edge rushers really right now that are healthy. If the Raiders can block up those interior 2 guys, he should have time. But can they get the intermediate stuff going? Not the 2 to 5 yard stuff. Can they get stuff 8 to 12 yards downfield and move the football? Because I don't think that Washington's going to allow them to take deep shots in this game unless it comes on early downs. But Derek's kind of still been the same guy this year that he has been a lot of his career. But the good thing is he is taking the shots when they're there, and that's good. I just don't know, because teams, if Darren Waller's going to miss some time, and it looks like he's not going to play this week, teams aren't going to let him take shots down the field. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, the underneath stuff is, listen, you have even with that being said, Renfro was there. We talked about the in-breaking routes with Brian Edwards.
Yeah.
Those are there. I mean, they found some ways to get the ball to Zay Jones and make some plays there. Foster Moreau is there. It tests your depth, no question about it.
Drake,
And Kenyon Drake is a guy. I know people who love Jalen Richard talk about his pass protection. I mean, I'm not doubting him in pass pro because he's really good at it. I mean, no question about it. He's really good at it. But I mean, maybe you got to play both of those two guys together. While you're missing pieces, you got to come up with something. I mean, if I can get the linebackers in coverage and the safeties on the Washington football team on where you got to attack them, so what better way to do that than with Kenyon Drake?
Where's the wheel routes? Where's the angle Texas routes that we saw earlier in the year with him that he's so good at? And I will add on the Derek Carr conversation. Another thing that just came to mind is I saw a stat last week, throwing the ball on 3rd and 5 to 10. How many guys throw it to or past the sticks? He's the second worst in the league as far as throwing the ball past the sticks on 3rd and 5 to 10. The only guy that does it less frequently than him is Jared Goff. Yeah. So those are the kind of things like you'd like to see a little bit more aggression on 3rd down, stay on the field. Yeah. They're too feast or famine right now. So they're going to have weeks where they score 30 and they're going to have weeks where they score in the mid-teens because they just don't sustain drives.
Yeah. I mean, without even seeing that stat, I knew Goff was the comparison there. I already knew how that goes. Michael North Cal off YouTube wants to know our path to the playoffs. I think you got to get to 10. I mean, 10 is like the key to the house, you know, the ticket to get to go see Spider-Man. You're not going to be able to get into the theater, the playoffs without getting 10 wins. And if you're in the AFC and if you're in the NFC, I would say, hey, get to 8 wins. It might happen. But right now, this is a big one. It doesn't end, like I said, this is a part of the season where we know everybody's imperfect. We know everybody's hurt. I'm not asking them to play, lights out football. Just find a way to win a game in your building because you've been really bad at that.
It's interesting because I've thought about this path to the playoffs, and everyone just says, "Okay, we're going to beat Washington this week and get to 7."
Why?
I think the path actually lies at as much, and I'm going to predict them to win this week, but I think the path is they need to win 4 of their remaining 5 AFC games. The path really is they need to win 2 of the 3 division games, whichever ones those are, and then they need to beat Cleveland. They need to beat the Colts. That's the real path. They need to win 4 of the 5 AFC games because right now they're 4-3 in the division. They need to get to like 8-4 in those AFC games so they can win some of these tiebreakers if they get to 10-7. Now, if they win 4 of those 5 and they beat Washington, they get to 11. I think they're in. I think they're in at 11-6, having won 5 of their last 6 games. But I could see a scenario where, let's say they win the next 2 and they beat the Chiefs and the football team, and they get to 8-5 and everyone's sitting pretty. And now you lose to now let's say you lose to the Colts, you lose to the Broncos, you lose to the Chargers. They're not going to finish second in the AFC West. Their path is they have to finish second in the AFC West. So they have to beat the Chargers and they have to beat the Broncos because I still think the Chiefs are winning the division. So they could win the next 2 and we can get really excited. But if they don't beat the Chargers and the Broncos, and if they don't get to what are they in the division? They're 1-2 in the division. They have to get to 3-3 in the division. If they go 2-4 in the AFC West, it's over because they're not going to win the tiebreaker because either the Broncos or the Chargers are probably going to get to 8 or 9 wins. And then that's going to be the decision one that right there, the last week of the year against the Chargers is going to come down to that.
Yeah. And we're going to be definitely going to be Raider faithful are definitely going to be Bengal fans this week because they play the Chargers and they play Herbert in that offense. A 49er fan, the 49er fans. You're always talking about Shanahan, how you like us now. It's interesting with the Niners real quick because what if they make a run? What if they make a run and go to let's just say they lose a tough game at Green Bay? Was all that draft capital to get him worth it? Like, you know what I mean? Like, shouldn't they just use the draft to just kind of supplement other issues on their team? Like, I mean, it's interesting to me. Like, if they really, you could look at it on the flip side and say, oh, they just amp it up Jimmy Garoppolo's trade value with a run in the playoffs. But I mean, listen, let me see when the season ends. The conference is not great. They should be able running. I think running Debo Samuel is nice and fit and nice and good, but like he's hurt he hurt and he could be out for a couple weeks. I give Shanahan credit. I have never in my life seen an offensive play caller call so many runs where they end up being big runs where nobody touches the running back or Debo Samuel until they're 20 yards down the field. I mean, there's a lot of it. They scheme it up very well. I mean, they do a good job with it, no question about it. But we'll see. We'll see how they end the season. I mean, the Rams will come back to earth. They have some division games left. You got a team in your division, the Cardinals. You're fighting for the number 1 seed. They can't tie with the Packers because the Packers beat the Cardinals there. Also, you have the Buccaneers fighting for that as well. So we'll see what happens. But they have done a good job getting back in this race, no question about it.
Yeah, I'm looking at their schedule. I think they're in the playoffs. I think they're going to get to at least 9. I think they beat the Seahawks this week. I think they can beat the Falcons and they can beat the Texans. That would get them to 9. In the NFC, that's going to put them in a wild card. So I think this is a playoff team.
Once you get to 9, you're done. In the NFC,
we can have the debate about the quarterback. It's not like they were picking 3rd and they said, this guy's going to fall in our lap. Let's take him. They moved up.
They weren't Atlanta. They weren't Atlanta, right?
No. So that changes things. Like I wouldn't fault them at all if they had the 3rd pick. He failed them. They took him. They knew Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't the long-term guy. But this is a team that went all in to get Trey Lance. They traded several future picks to move up. So there's a strong likelihood, 90+% in my mind, that Trey Lance is the guy next year. They're going to have to play him based on what they gave up. So they are managing the game right now with Jimmy Garoppolo. It's funny. Everyone thinks he's a bad quarterback and he stinks, but if you look at his numbers, he's actually up there in a lot of categories. So I think they're going to have to continue to run the ball, though. That's what this team is built to do. Can Garoppolo carry them if they fall behind in games? Like if they go to Green Bay in the playoffs and they're down 14-0, I don't think Jimmy G is bringing them back to win that game. But to me, they're going to sneak in this year, and then it's all about next year when they put Trey Lance in there. They're going all in for 2022 and 2023.
Yeah, no question about it. So let's get to the Washington football team. Visit Allegiant Stadium to face the Las Vegas Raiders Sunday. I believe Fox has that game. The Raiders have 17 touchdown passes. Washington football team has 16. The Raiders have thrown 9 interceptions. The Washington football team has thrown 10. Sacks allowed. The Raiders have had 25. The Washington football team has had 24. Running the ball from yards per carry, Raiders are at 3.8. The Washington football team is at 4.3. Rushing touchdowns, the Raiders actually have more, 10-8 as far as that goes. It's the kind of just basic stats. I do not have a good feeling about this particular game because I've seen this game throughout my entire Raider life, and I don't feel great about it. So, a pesky little quarterback like Tyler Heineke, somebody like that making plays. This team is the worst scoring first quarter team in the National Football League. So that's something to think about too. If the Raiders can get off to a lead, that would be huge in this ball game. We talked about it. We talked about it over text. You watch this offense, and it seems like they run the ball and they have a bunch of screens. That stuff is going to be tested by, can the Raiders cover these screens and blow some of these plays up?
Yeah, they throw a heavy amount of screens to the backs in the game. You're going to see a lot of McKissick if he plays, and Gibson, who's a former college wide receiver. So the Raiders are going to have to be prepared for that. They need a game plan for Terry McLaughlin outside. He's a guy that can get down the field and make big plays. I do think the Raiders have a big advantage here with their defensive line. I don't really like the offensive line for Washington, and they're probably going to be on their third or fourth string center. It looks like Eric Flowers might not play this week. They lost their right tackle last week to injury, so they're going to be playing several backups on the line. the key here for the Raiders is they got to come out and sling it around the yard. Washington is the fourth best run defense in the league. They're not going to line it up and run it against Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen in the middle. Where you attack Washington is in the passing game. I think they're 30th in the league in passing defense, and they give up like 26 points a game. I'm looking at the yardage here. They're 30th. They give up 267 yards a game in the air. This should be another Derek Carr throws for 300 yards. If the Raiders get up, 10, 14 points in this game and they make Washington try to throw the ball where they can let that defensive line eat. That's how this team's built. We've been talking about it. They need to get leads and take away the running game. I did think last week though the run defense did show up against Dallas. They did stop Zeke Elliott and Pollard for the most part, but this can't be a back and forth field position. The Raiders come out and try to run the ball early against this defense, and they punt because they can't convert third downs. And before you know it, you look up and it's the Cincinnati game again, where it's 13-6 in the third quarter, 16-6, and they're behind. They need to come out guns blazing. They need to stop losing games at home, and they just need to play well at home. They just haven't played well at home. They've played much better on the road. So this is a game. Early in the week, I was kind of like you, and the more the week's gone on, the more I've thought about the matchups here. I do think the Raiders can win this game, and I don't think it's going to be that close.
We'll see. Hopefully you are correct. I would love to be relaxed there as far as that goes. I do think be careful with the 3 and outs if you're the Raiders here. The run pass, like there should not be a run pass situation here for the Raiders at all. But you gotta be careful with that because they will dink and duck and try to go 18 plays. I don't know if as far as the officials go. I mean, they usually don't call a lot of penalties on Raider opponents. Unlike last week, that's why I kind of felt like watching that game last week. I was like, wow, they're really throwing a lot of penalties. But then on the Cowboys, this might actually be a good day for the Raiders as far as that goes. But they will dink and dunk and just like kind of just matriculate the ball down the field slowly. The slow death, like death by a million cuts, if you will. Like that's the way they're gonna move the football. So I would try to stay away from that. And if you get some 3 and outs, make them pay for it. Like if you get some 3 and outs with that, you get a turnover or anything like that. You gotta make them pay for it. And then take advantage of that first quarter. I'm telling you, they really are poor in that first quarter. Any part of this quote unquote Del Rio factor that everybody is talking about here as Jack Del Rio, who I was never a Jack Del Rio fan at all, but I will say this. I did think it was embarrassing for an organization for the boss not to come out and fire him. You can't put him out there like that. Like the podium should have been with John. Even if he said no question, I'm not taking any questions. Jack Del Rio is no longer the head coach of the Oakland Raiders. That would have been fine for me. But like to not even say anything, and just hire John, that was kind of whack.
Yeah, to answer your question, I'm looking at the penalties. Washington is not a very penalized team. The Raiders are at 89, which would be second. Only Dallas has more, but Dallas has played one more game. Mm-hmm. Washington's at 62 penalties on the season. So they're in the bottom 5 or 6 in the league. So that's probably not going to be advantageous for the Raiders. When I do flip it over, we talked about third down offense. I'm just going to read you the teams where the Raiders are. And this is going to blow your mind when you think about it. So
I know where it is. Go ahead.
Washington comes in 17th in the league at 39%. Houston, 18%. And then we start looking down the list. The Giants, 26%. I'm sorry, 36%. Carolina, 34.7%. Jacksonville is better on third downs than the Raiders. The Raiders are only better than Chicago, Detroit, and Seattle, who played Geno Smith, and basically Russell Wilson's missing a middle finger right now and can't complete a pass. But they're only better than the Bears and the Lions, essentially, on third down, and they're worse than Jacksonville. So don't get the third down. Be aggressive. Throw the ball down the field. If you can, attack the defense. I do think the Raiders will move the ball in this game, though. To play devil's advocate, I'm looking at the things that could go wrong in this game. And for me, when I hear the Derek Carr talk about how he's leading the league in passing. I'm more worried about what third down, and I'm more worried about red zone, because those are sustainable things for the most part. It happens in a larger sample size and things that you can count on 11 weeks into the season. But Washington, I think they're going to struggle to score against the Raiders defense. I do think the Raiders defensively match up pretty well here. They can allow the ball underneath and rally and tackle. I think you're going to see Taylor Heineke kind of struggle here against the cover 3 defense if the Raiders can get pressure, because outside of Terry McLaughlin, the only other guy that really might be an issue is Logan Thomas. He's big, he can run the tight end of the middle of the field. But I do think the Raiders defensive ends are going to have a chance here to get home. But again, it's a scrambling quarterback, and they're going to have something in mind in case he breaks out. But I don't think that Taylor Heineke is going to be able to put up 24 plus points and win this game. If the Raiders come out aggressive and can move the ball and put some points on the board and not give up any kickoff returns or a punt return for a touchdown and just win the field goal battle here, or field position battle, I'm not going to say you need to put the cardiac medicine away, the heart medicine, but I do think that they win this game by more than the spread here, which is 2 points.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Another couple things I did notice. I mean, Gibson does scare me a little bit. He's that kind of like that meticulous back who just keeps coming and coming and coming. Then they're never gonna stop. They're never gonna stop running the football, no matter what the score is. So, even if you get up 2 scores, you have to look out for Antonio Gibson, Scary Terry as they call him. I mean, you gotta watch for him in the slot as well. Once he's in the slot, they kind of move him around. They try to move him around. He is, even though they're kind of a dink and dunk offense, he's a guy who is the third in the NFL in depth of target. So they will throw the ball deep to him as well. So we'll have to see what that goes as far as that goes. Go ahead.
I would like to say one thing I would like to see Bradley put in the game plan this week is Heineke really struggles to throw the ball outside the numbers. He doesn't have a ton of arm strength. That cover 3 is good. I'd like to see a little like cover 2 trap where, kind of bait him to throw the ball out there and a cover 2 look, and then have the corners jump some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But I do think if the Raiders can kind of clog up the middle of the field here defensively and force him to throw the ball outside the numbers, they could have a lot of success this week.
So, I mean, because that's where like the Raiders could act like, say Derek had a fumble and an interception. That wouldn't end the game for the Raiders, right? They would still have a chance to win the game. Where if
this week, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, but this week, yes. I feel like if that happened to Heineke, the game's over.
The game's over. If they turn it over twice,
yeah.
As long as the Raiders don't turn it over 3 times, I think.
Yeah. So that's just saying, like, obviously, nothing happens to your offense as far as that goes. Yeah, but I just find that that's where they're better. I just think, I mean, like, there's a long list of just really, from Gardner Minshew to whoever, like, just bad quarterbacks who have beaten the Raiders with Derek Carr as at quarterback. Like, there's a long list of those guys. Like, at some point, you got to put your foot down, Derek, and just not have another home loss to one of these bad quarterbacks, right? I mean, you gotta, or at home or on the road, you gotta handle your business as far as that goes. Anything else from the Washington football team that you noticed on film or and studying, or also studying them? Because I think I covered everything I studied when I watched them play. I kind of watched that Buck game all 22 a couple of times.
Yeah, I just think the middle of the field is going to be open for the Raiders this week. I think Landon Collins has missed quite a bit of time. I don't think he's practiced this week. He may be questionable. They have a rookie linebacker and Jamin Davis out of Kentucky. Holcomb's the other linebacker, kind of a younger guy they could take advantage of. I don't think that either of the safeties is particularly, a threat. So the one guy they really got to watch out for on the outside is William Jackson, the corner that came over from Cincinnati. I think they're going to stay away from him, but they're going to have matchups. And as we talked about, it's Foster Moreau. It's maybe, Daniel Helm gets some catches in the middle of the field this week if Waller doesn't play when they go to 12 personnel. It's what can they scheme up for Drake? Hopefully Jacobs doesn't drop a pass down the seam this week if they dial that play up again. But I think the Raiders are going to be able to eat over the middle of the field with Renfro. I think you're going to see them try to get Renfro on those linebackers as much as they can, especially if Waller doesn't play.
Mhm.
And if they do bring a safety down, then you got to go over the top and try to make them pay for that. But I hope they don't come out and just try to pound the ball and run it, because they're not going to move those two interior guys. That might be the best interior duo in the league. So
That's what I'm terrified of.
yeah,
I'm hearing all this running game stuff, and I just feel like I just it's the last thing in the world I want to hear is that part of it, because I just don't. I think that's not the way to beat Washington. I think you can open up to the run later on after you complete some passes, but get a couple 20-yard gains, and then all of a sudden you can maybe sneak a run with Jacobs, sneak a run with Drake. But yeah, Jacobs is I know injuries real quick. Desean Jackson go calf, and then we all know that Waller got hurt at the IT thing last night. Straight is Jacobs hurt as well? When is Jacob not hurt? But
he got downgraded to limited today. I want to say ankle. I don't know 100%, but he practiced on Wednesday, was limited today. He should play.
We should play. So what happens? What happens there as far as that goes? Your pick for the game, the Raiders, 6-5, fighting for a playoff berth here.
I'm going to go Raiders 23, Washington 17, and I think they get a late touchdown. So I'm 23-10. Mid fourth quarter, I think the Raiders are able to build a lead here and hold on at the end. But I think it's going to be not as close as the score indicates. I'll go 23-17.
17, okay. Man, I hate this game. I'm going to go Washington football team 24, the Raiders 21.
You did it.
I'm gonna do it. I gotta see more. I gotta see more from this team. I gotta see more from this quarterback. I gotta see them. I want to see him win a game where he doesn't throw for 300 yards. Like, you know what I mean? Like where it's like 210 and then get some balance as far as the running game goes. We'll see what happens there. I'm not asking him to be, running the football like Eric Dickerson used to do with the Rams, but I'm just saying, like, give me a little something there. I think, not having Desean is going to be kind of an issue, maybe even more so than Waller. Like, at this point, the way they're playing right now, and I've just seen them. I've seen the Ryan Fitzpatricks. I've seen so many bad quarterbacks beat the Raiders when games that they need to win. Let me see them do this and then go to Kansas City. And we'll take it from there. But I picked the Raiders to lose this game, 24-21, late field goal. Heineke scrambles for a critical fourth down or something to kind of take your heart out here, Raider Nation, as far as that goes, and they fall to 6-6. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes. Any other games you like this week as far as that goes?
Yeah, I'll touch on that Desean Jackson real briefly. I think he's playing. The Raiders did waive Dylan Stoner today, so if they were short on wide receivers, I don't think they would have made that move. So
yeah,
I do think we do see Jackson. We may see Stoner back up for the game off the practice squad if he clears waivers. I'd like to see Javin Mims get a couple plays in, see what we got there. The Georgia wide receiver that came over from the Bears. But as far as the games this week, I've been so bad this year at picking these games. I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm just going to go straight AFC West and see if I can get some wins. I'll take the Broncos +10. I think Kansas City wins the game. That defense has been playing lights out for about 3-4 weeks now. So I think they can keep it close enough. I think they run the ball really well. That Javonte Williams is an animal. That guy can really run the rock. And if Melvin Gordon misses time, I like him even better because I want to see him get the ball, 20
What round did they draft him in? Or what round was he picked?
Top of the second round.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to go Denver +10. I just think that's too big of a point spread. I'll take Las Vegas. We've already talked about them. I'll take the Raiders and lay the -2. And I'm going to go to the Chargers game. I think Cincinnati wins this game. The Chargers offense just hasn't been consistent. That defense is getting run on right now. And you have Joe Mixon coming in with those wideouts. I'm going to take the Bengals to win that game and cover 2.5 at home. So I like the Bengals. I like the Broncos with the points, and I like the Raiders this week.
Give me the last stand for the Steelers here to cover that just out of pride. Whenever somebody gets blown out, I get my break to kind of maybe fight back. Give me the Rams to beat the Jaguars by 13. This is going to be the Matthew Stafford's not Jared Goff game. And then I agree with you. I think the Broncos cover. I think Broncos cover that spread. Even before the Raiders played the Cowboys, everybody said, the Chiefs are back, but they only won that game 19-9. So that was they had an early touchdown as far as that goes. So like that was it as far as that is. So some good games this week. The Raiders, listen, you cannot. I don't want to make it as simple as Tyler Heineke, because if you lose, if you turn the ball over 3 times in your own end, then you're giving up points. You're giving them points left and right. But I just feel like they have lost a lot of bad quarterbacks. So if they're gonna actually take advantage of this opportunity, and he's probably middle of the road quarterback. We'll see. We'll see what he does. But I don't know. Not feeling comfortable about this game. So we'll see. I actually would feel comfortable if they were playing like at the Colts. I feel like they'd play a big game if they were playing at a really like a lights on. I don't know how it's 16 weeks and you can't be prepared to play sometimes, but I don't know. They gotta find a way to win this game. Anything else? I think that's pretty much it for the AFC West. Oh,
I look forward to the potential.
I got some Herbert things too. Go ahead.
Like the return of Trayvon Mullen, hopefully this week, should help out this defense.
Nice.
Even if he gets in for, they rotate him in every other series or, every third series, get him some snaps. They did activate him today. And I'm looking forward to the potential debut of Raiders 3rd-round pick Malcolm Kuntz, who I predicted earlier this week would play if Carl Nassib does not. It sounds like it's leaning that way. I don't know if he's going to get a ton of snaps on defense. Clearly, Nassib is on special teams. He's on the return unit, so I think Kuntz steps in there, and I think you could see him get, 4 or 5 snaps on defense in some pass rush situations. But, the Raiders need to start getting some return on that investment. They used the 3rd-round pick on him.
Yeah.
They need to start getting some snaps, and this might be the week to get him in there, especially if they have a lead, because they're going to need him down the stretch. They might need another pass rush guy, someone to step up here. Nassib, as much as he's done again in run defense, he really hasn't shown up in the pass rush in the past month or so. They're getting no pass rush from Cleveland Farrell on the other side. So the Raiders need a 3rd pass rusher that can get after the quarterback here.
Yeah, well, Cleveland Farrell is obviously a special teams maven now, so he has to worry about that. What do you think, in closing, what do you think Justin Herbert's quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers? What do you think his passing percentages on passes 20 yards or more?
His completion percentage down the field?
Down the field, yeah.
Well, 20 yards down the field is a low percentage, so I'm going to say 40.
38, 37.
That's pretty good. It's pretty good.
And then he has thrown 247 passes that were 5 yards or shorter. This is interesting.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
But, it's the Saints offense that Joe Lombardi brought over from the Saints when he had Drew Brees.
It's interesting with him and his arm. It kind of just shocked me because, with his skill set, you would think, and you got Mike Williams, and you got some people, they got some guys who can get down the field. Surprised they don't throw the ball down the field a little bit more than they do.
His average yards per attempt is in the low 7s. It's like 7.3, 7.4.
No, it's not. It's not where
somewhere in there.
It's not where you think it. When you're thinking with a young quarterback, plus they can't. They struggle to run the football and they struggle to stop the run. So hopefully that continues because we need Joe Mixon to have a huge game this week. About 4 touchdowns, Joe. Either Joe. Either Joe. 4 touchdowns.
Who Day Nation, show up this week.
So we'll see what happens. All right. Red Nation, again, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Fight on. Fight on. All right, Red Nation, thank you for joining us here on the Put on Raiders podcast. We'll see you next time. Check out these videos all over me for more stuff. Later.